Hello and greetings from the Renville County planter. It is now day whatever of we're supposed to stay at home quarantining, and as you can tell, I really need a haircut. If any of you out there want to cut my hair, just give me a call. Anyway, today we're going to make Alton Brown's version of Chicken Parmesan, and I've made this recipe a few times, and trust me, once you make it, you won't feel the need to go to Olive Garden anymore. We're going to sort of break up this recipe today. The first thing we're going to do is make the tomato sauce, and then a little while later, then we will get the chicken ready. So, in the tomato sauce, we're going to start with 8 cloves of, oops, hang on one second. We are going to start off with 8 cloves of garlic that we're going to put into the mortar and pestle. And to that, we're going to add 2 teaspoons of kosher salt. That is going to help break up the garlic. And we will put, I think he calls for about a half a teaspoon of extra virgin olive oil. And we will take this to that and make that into kind of a crushed garlic paste. A little while later in the recipe, we will be incorporating a 1/4 cup of extra virgin olive oil. Also 4 anchovies will go in there, and a half teaspoon of red pepper flake, and 2 28-ounce cans of San Marzano tomatoes. There is a difference between that and the regular ones. I do like these. Now what we're going to do with these is we are going to drain them. So we will put that into a sieve. Actually, I'll do one at a time, 1 can at a time. Now once this stuff drains out, you see that liquid down there, do not discard that liquid, because it pairs very, very well with this. And once we get going a little further in the cooking process, we will also be adding the rind, about a 2-inch section of the end, the hard part of Parmesan cheese. Now what we're going to do is put a 1/4 cup of extra virgin olive oil into this pan and get that heated up, and then we will brown the garlic. Now one word on this pan, I got this from Denise down at Gourmet Chef, and when I bought it, I didn't look at the price. I just pulled it off the shelf. You know, I thought, you know, it's enameled and it's cast iron. You know, I don't have to worry about curing it and that. And anyway, it's a La Trousse French. So anyway, I got up to the cash register and they took the pricing gun to it. And then I I envisioned my wife killing me when I brought it home. So anyway, I ended up buying it, and I got smart. When I brought it home, I took a black magic marker and covered up the price. So I couldn't even tell you what I paid for this. But when I did bring it home, I told my boys, when I'm dead and gone, don't throw this thing to the curb. Somebody in the family keep it. It's what you call an heirloom pot. So hopefully one day my boys will tell their children and their grandchildren, gosh, I remember when Dad used to make nice meals in this pot. So anyway, this is a keeper of a pot. We will let that warm up on medium heat. Okay, that oil is heated up. And put our garlic in there. Down just a little bit. Stir this around until it browns a little bit. As you can see, our garlic is just starting to brown a little bit. So to this, you're going to add 4 anchovy fillets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we will add red pepper flake, turn the heat down just a little bit. And then those anchovy fillets are actually going to almost dissolve. I'm going to shut the heat off for just a second. The garlic is starting to... Burned garlic is not good. Use the back of your spoon and break up those anchovy fillets. They will dissolve down to nothing. You won't even know that they're in there. And that red pepper flake is in there. So now what we're going to do, bring on the tomatoes. Now this here, your potato masher, is an A1 first class multitasker. I use this all the time, but be careful because those tomatoes can really squirt at you. Okay, so crush. And we will keep using this on here. Once those tomatoes cook more, they're gonna break up a lot easier. What we want to do is bring that back up to a simmer. So I'm going to turn the heat back on. Get this all mixed. And then we'll keep working those tomatoes with the potato masher. I want to get those broken up. Okay, we are now back up to a simmer. I turned the heat down to basically low, just a little warmer than low. And now we will put in that rind of Parmesan. Now that's not going to dissolve, you know, little bits of it might dissolve, but what that's going to do is impart a lot of flavor, and we will end up pulling that later on in the sauce making process. But we will now leave this uncovered for 1 hour. And what will happen, you can see the steam coming off. We want this sauce to dry out and you know, to be less liquidy. So we will come back in an hour. Now that we have our sauce simmering away, that will simmer for an hour. And if I forgot to mention it, that pan I got a Gourmet Chef, if I forgot to mention that before. So while our sauce is going, we set out our stuff for the chicken. I will post the recipe in the description of this. I'm actually doubling the chicken. My in-laws are coming over again tonight, so the recipe online is for, you know, 4 people. So I'm actually doubling this. I'm not going to read the amounts, just look at the recipe and follow along. What I have is boneless, skinless chicken breasts, 4 of them. We'll be using kosher salt, and what we'll be doing, and I'll show this in a minute, we are going to butterfly the chicken breasts and then hit them with kosher salt and let them sit for a half hour. And then we're going to pound those out too with the meat tenderizer. So and then we'll hit it with kosher salt. And then the breading for the chicken parmesan, we have all-purpose flour. And just a note, bread pans make awesome for a breading station. They are A1 first class multitaskers. They're not only meant for baking bread. So we have all-purpose flour, and then I have plain panko breadcrumbs, and kind of a secret ingredient, salt and vinegar potato chips. The vinegar flavor in there gives the chicken just a little hint of that acidic vinegar. And we have oregano, parsley flakes, and garlic powder. And what I'm going to, now in his recipe, he says to take the panko breadcrumbs, the potato chips, and those spices and put them into a bag and beat them up. I'm just going to use my food processor and buzz those up. And then those will go into this pan in the breading procedure. We have 4 large chicken eggs. Again, I'm doubling the recipe. And then as we fry the chicken pieces, we'll divide that butter up, and so it'll be a combination of butter and extra virgin olive oil that we will be frying the chicken in. And I'm doubling this is whole mozzarella and fontina. Now, he, in his show on TV, he mentions using two types of cheese because mozzarella can get really, really stringy. And when you blend it with the different cheese, it isn't near so stringy. And I will use the food processor, my shredding attachment, to shred that up. And then finally, for garnish, I will chop up some parsley that we will sprinkle on the top. Okay, in the bowl of your favorite food processor, we will put the breadcrumbs. You know, I'm going to do this a little differently. Hang on a second. Put those back. They're already buzzed up. So the first thing I'm going to do is the potato chips. Take and buzz those up. Buzzed a little bit more. Next up, we will put in the breadcrumbs. They really don't need to be chopped anymore, but we're just going to do this to bring it together and mix it up. So we added in the oregano, parsley, and garlic powder. Pulse that a few times just to mix it up. Whoops. And this will go into this cup of our breading station. I'll beat the eggs in a separate container because I don't want to use a metal fork on these pans. Now I've switched out on the food processor to the shredding attachment. First we will do the fontina. No sense in using a hand grinder when you don't have to. I'm going to take and split the mozzarella in half. Oop. It's kind of sticky, the mozzarella. And we'll do the other side. Okay, by doing a lot of this stuff early, it'll save you time in the long run. Now this cheese, I am going to take and put into a larger bowl, and then I'll mix it up by hand, just to combine it. On second thought, it probably would be better to use a box grater on that Parmesan at least, because it almost kind of, I don't want to say it melted it, but it sure made it kind of clumped together instead of the nice pieces. But anyway, I'm going to stick this into the refrigerator to keep it cool.
Hey, lay down.
Okay, what we are going to do here, I'll demonstrate it on one, and then
Sit.
I'll go ahead and finish the rest of them. So what we're going to do is we are actually, I'm going to get close to the edge here. We're going to take and butterfly these open. Take a sharp knife. Do not cut yourself. And just keep working that open until it kind of looks like a heart. Okay? And then what we're going to do is cover this with a piece of saran wrap, and we're going to pound these until they're very, very thin. They almost look like a heart when you get done. Okay. Now I'm going to get that just a little thinner right here. Now we're just going to cut it right in half. I'm going to cut these into little individual pieces and put them onto a cooling rack. And I can get these, I'll get these organized later, but I will go ahead and do the rest of the chicken breasts and then we will come back. Okay, we have all of our chicken pounded, flattened out, so the next step, I'm not going to measure this. We're just going to take and hit all of these pieces with kosher salt, flip them over, and do the same thing on the other side. And then we're going to cover this with saran wrap and put this into the refrigerator for at least a half hour. And what's going to happen, the salt will draw out moisture from the chicken, and then also kind of season the meat. As you can see, an hour of TV time has gone by and our sauce has reduced and somewhat dried out and thickened. Now this cheese is pretty much given up everything it has to offer, so we're going to pull that out. That's the Parmesan cheese rind. Feed that to your dog. Now one thing to mention, just do not be in a hurry to reduce the sauce, because if you really crank the heat on this, the sugar content of the tomatoes, they will definitely burn. And as you can see, there's no burn spots on the bottom of the pan. Just a nice slow simmer on, low heat almost, at least on my stove. And that sauce will reduce. It just takes a long time. We will kill the heat and save that for later. Okay, a half hour of TV time has flown by. And as you can see, a lot of moisture has been brought to the surface. Can you open the garbage down there? Leave it open. What we're going to do now is take paper towels. We're going to blot that moisture off of there, and then flip these and block the other side. Okay, we have our chicken blotted. We have our breading station. Now I'm going to try to do this the right way. You got two hands. Left hand is going to be dry, right hand is going to be wet, and then we will go back to left hand with dry. If you keep mixing them, you will wind up with club hand. So, since that's wet, I'm going to grab the chicken with the wet hand, hit it with the flour, shake off the excess, and then back into dry. And then these will go onto a separate cooling rack. So again, wet, dry, into wet, and shake off the excess, into dry. And hopefully you will avoid getting the dreaded club hand. Now we'll continue to get the rest of these ready. Okay, we have all of our pieces breaded, and by doing dry and wet, as you can see, I did not get too horrible of a case of club hand. Up next, we will start heating up our pan to cook these. We have our pan over medium heat, and there's a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil and 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter. And once the butter stops sizzling, then the moisture content has gone out of the pan. And so we will stick our pieces on here, and we will pan fry these 2 minutes per side. I'm going to turn that up just a little bit.
Fully recovered. You are looking at the face of a COVID survivor.
And we will end up doing these in several batches. I'm going to set the timer. Since this is the first batch, I'm going to go 2.5 minutes. Okay, 2.5 minutes have gone by. We will flip these over. And as you can see, they're nice and golden brown and delicious looking. I'm going to leave those go a little bit longer on that side. Same with that one, same with that one. Okay, another 2 minutes have gone by. I'm just going to get these a little browner. These other don't cross-contaminate, so use clean stuff. Evacuate these 4 from the pan.
Kind of weird to see all these things with
Now
all
once
the makeup on them.
this first batch is done, there's a step in the recipe that I didn't follow the first time. It says clean the pan out, because what happens, some of this breading comes off, and if you don't wipe the pan out, the leftover breading is going to start to burn, so you're going to go from golden brown and delicious to golden black, and it looks kind of icky. So do not skip that step in between batches. Take a paper towel and wipe out the pan. Now my family is kind of wimps. Some of them do not like the tomato sauce that goes along with the chicken stuff. So what we're going to do is take this pan and I'm going to stick it under the broiler for 2 minutes, and that'll kind of caramelize out some of this tomato sauce. So this will go into the oven under the broiler for 2 minutes. What we're going to do here is cook some pasta. We are using the cold water pasta method, but that's another show, where you put the pasta in just enough water to cover it, cold water, crank it up to high. Once it starts to boil, then we take and turn it down to a simmer and leave it go until it's done. Okay, we boil that for a couple of minutes. Get out of there, Cole. We're going to put just a little bit of the tomato sauce onto the tops.
Is it done yet, Dad?
No, Cole. Of these.
Oh, sorry, Reagan. What? Just adding some.
Oh, good. Did you get more today?
Again, some of these I'm going to make plain.
Oh, see?
Oh, for big yards today.
We just had 2 right
No.
Thank you.
Okay, now the final step when we broil this, get our cheese out and just sort of crumble that over the top. Again, I shouldn't have used the food processor to do the mozzarella. Oh well, lesson learned for next time.
Talking to yourself?
No, he's videoing right now.
And we will broil this until that is golden brown. The cheese is melted and slightly browned. I will, however, put some cheese onto the blank pieces. You can hear my dogs in the background arguing and fighting.
She's a cranky old lady now.
Got enough cheese here, so I'm just going to keep sprinkling this on the top.
I don't know. She's like, well, when are you gonna get to it?
Paul, you videoing?
Such an emotional roller coaster. Disney Plus gives us the ability to relive those really special memories.
Okay.
I have the power to lower my blood sugar and A1C.
I have a few more of these to do, so I'll save the rest of that cheese for that. Okay, these will go back under the broiler. I'm not going to broiler. I'm not going to begin to tell you how long. You just have to watch it until that cheese melts and gets golden brown. Okay, we have now broiled that. It has now come to be golden brown and delicious. We're just waiting for the pasta to cook, and then we will serve that over the top of the pasta. And now it is time to eat. I present to you Chicken Parmesan. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. You can do this stuff at home and enjoy the fruits of your labor. Have a good night. One little step I forgot. To make this look like the Italian flag, I started eating and I realized I forgot one little step. To garnish it with parsley. Now, doesn't that brighten the dish right up? Okay.
I wonder what possessed Emma.
Live and learn.
Handstand.